Hello, Jay here, and in this installment of the ongoing series, 8 Weeks of Ash Wastes, I'll be talking about how the first week of my Ash Wastes campaign went. I'll talk about the gangs who showed up, the game we played, who won, and what I thought of the whole thing, this time on JD in the Sump Sea. So we played the first game of my Ash Wastes campaign, and I want to talk about the evening. We had 2 people show up, and one of them wanted to play in the campaign, so it was me, Dee, and Ben as the initial players in the campaign. I brought my Cawdor Outcast gang that I've shown in my previous 2 videos. Dee brought his Goliath bikers that he covered in a previous video on this channel as well. And Ben brought a Cawdor gang in a big heavy vehicle that looked suspiciously like an orc battle wagon. It's fine that we only had 3 this first week. The way our group works is that we usually have 1 or 2 regulars outside of Dee and myself, and then a number of others who pop in from time to time. I figured the way to adapt this campaign to that kind of setting was simply to play games with whomever showed up each week, and when new people show up, they get a trade route that is not yet controlled. We have plenty of trade routes to give out, so it shouldn't be an issue. Also, our players just want to play some games, so if it's super structured campaign or not doesn't really matter most of the time. We have a pretty fun and flexible group of gaming friends, to be honest. So I made laminated, approximately index card sized pieces of paper, each one with a specific trade route on it and its associated info printed on it. We spread them out face down on the table and we each picked one blindly. I got the Withering Run, Dee got the Iron Ridge Road, and Ben got the Crater Run. Ben got to decide which road section we should be playing on, and he picked the Outcast Passage. So we rolled for the Waste Roads condition, and we got Broken Ground, which counts the battlefield surface as difficult terrain for wheeled vehicles. The Bone Road Death Race scenario also has a visibility limit of 18 inches, so that would also be a factor in crew selection. We then decided that we should all play in the first week's campaign game, the Bone Road Death Race. We each lined up on the short board edge and the game began. This game only allows for 6 fighters of the player's choice to be used during the game. This really limited what I could bring because I wanted to make sure I wouldn't be able to bottle too easily. If I took all 3 vehicles, then I would only have 3 more fighters I could take, and those Scum Racer crew of those vehicles don't count towards bottling, so I'd be at a huge disadvantage right off the bat. I decided to take all 3 bikers because they are by far the fastest thing in my gang. I probably made a mistake by not taking my tracked vehicle, but we're all still new at the Ash Waste rules and scenarios, so I just gave it a shot. I also took my mutant champion, James the Great, because I wanted some hand-to-hand punch, and I didn't want to risk Enoch in the first game. I also just wanted to try out the bomb rats. So Dee took 6 Goliath bikers. I believe this may have been his entire gang. He is starting with less than 1,000 gang rating because he wants to save credits to spend later in the campaign, and he also is giving it a try for the Ash Waste weekend coming up in November. Ben had 1 heavy vehicle based off an orc battle wagon kit packed in the back transport bed with a whole bunch of Cawdor. I don't know exactly what he took, but at one point during the game he launched a bomb rat, so we both got to try them out in this game.
Alright, I have to roll my intelligence check for my bomb rat. He's within 9 inches of my my guy. Right. Yeah. There's the rat right. Yeah. And I rolled a 6. So, I failed my intelligence check.
So as the game got going, it became obvious that if we just raced each other and tried to block each other's movement with new pieces of terrain showing up at the end of each round, because of the rolling roads mechanic, then perhaps that could be a path to victory. The sides of the battlefield didn't really come into play. You can have impassable sides, open sides, or cliff sides, and they never really came into play in this game.
Do we move things back now?
Well, I'm all done, so yes.
You're done, Ben?
I think we would move back. Rat gone.
Thank you.
This piece of terrain gone.
Since we just took potshots at each other and raced each other, we never had anything like knockback or ramming or going out of control in vehicles where the sides would have mattered. The bikes were necessary for either Dee or myself to have a chance to win, Ben had no bikes, and his vehicle, even though it was tracked, so it was not slowed by the difficult terrain, was just too slow to keep up with everything else. I was kind of surprised that D didn't charge into my gang on turn 1. He definitely could have, but he instead decided to race, which was fine with me. My gang is not good in hand-to-hand like the Goliaths are. With him between myself and Ben, he started taking casualties right away. He had to take a pretty early game bottle test, which he failed, but then continued to pass cool tests on his leader, which would confer to his gangers for the rest of the battle. Goliaths have the best cool in the gang at gang creation.
Words of the Emperor!
Big dice.
Upon this day you shall learn a word, and the word will fall upon you. That's absolutely way more than a 5.
Yes, it certainly is.
The word fell upon you! And you!
And what happened?
All enemy fighters within 9 inches of this fighter
Yes.
must take a nerve test. That's it.
Oh.
There's a lot of
She
shell.
passes, and these guys pass.
It was really fun to play the scenario, but there wasn't a ton of interaction between the gangs. I think that's somewhat inherent with the scenario. The objective is to get to the opposite board edge from the one you deployed on, and you only have 8 turns to do it, so you gotta move and move a lot starting turn 1, or you probably won't have a chance to make the finish line. The scenario doesn't specifically state that the game is over when one model reaches the opposite edge, but we called it when that happened anyways, since at that point a winner's been determined. Turn 6 is when the game ended, and I actually was able to get one of my bikers, Delilah Horthfels, to the leading edge and win the game.
This is turn 6. You see, I gotta hit the board edge to win. I need to move 16 inches, and that is 14 inches. So I get the win. Woo!
It was a good thing too that we ended it there, because turns 7 and 8, the Bone Road Death Race, actually becomes kind of scary. Any model not moving at least 8 inches falls through the ash crust and goes out of action. And the battlefield has cliff sides, so you could potentially smash into the wall also. For winning, I collected 46 times 10 credits, in addition to collecting income from the now 3 road sections and 1 trade route I owned. It turned out to be 242 credits. I also upped my rep by 4, so I'm now at 5 rep. No one else actually lost any fighters in this game, so at worst, everyone got XP and earned some cash from their trade routes and road sections. I've made a number of tweaks to my gang by buying some mesh armor and some gutter-forged cloaks. I bought a few respirators and some weapons. I also made sure all my vehicles were upgraded with all-wheel steering and nitro burners. I could have bought another hanger-on or another vehicle or some more gangers, but I decided to give that another week or so. So this scenario is interesting, in that what waste road condition you roll up could impact how this scenario plays dramatically, as we saw in this game. The broken ground really slowed down any vehicle without tracks, and if you didn't have bikes, you would be out of luck playing the scenario against someone with bikes. It gets really deadly after turn 6 if you have slower moving gangs, and no one may get to the leading edge and onward to victory if the gangs aren't fast enough. One of the negatives is perhaps that you could ignore your opponent somewhat and just try to race to the leading edge to win the game. The rewards are quite nice, and I wonder if they try to increase the rewards in the missions to make up for the lack of credits you can bring in from a road section each cycle. But we'll just have to see as this campaign progresses if the rewards for winning games offset the lack of rewards for road section income, and if the trade route income also plays into this. After a successful week 1, I can't wait to come back next week and play another game. Look for continuing coverage of this campaign here and on our Facebook page, where I'll be posting reels of some of the more interesting or fun things that happened during this campaign. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and as always, please like and subscribe.